Do you often find yourself delaying important tasks and then struggling to meet deadlines? Do you then feel guilty for wasting time and criticize yourself for not being productive enough? Well, if this is happening to you, you are not alone. Procrastination is just the act of delaying tasks or activities. It can happen to all of us at some level, but sometimes it can become a bigger problem. And then it can affect different aspects of our life, whether we are revising for exams or working on assignments or projects for university or projects at work or household chores. It can affect different aspects of our life. When procrastination becomes a problem, individuals can feel guilty, they criticize themselves, they can lose confidence. Because it affects their productivity, it can also affect their progression in careers, it can affect relationships. In today's video, I'm going to talk about procrastination, why it happens, but most importantly, I'm going to give you top tips to manage this if it is happening to you. A lot of people say to me that others call me lazy. They say I have a time management problem. Understand that procrastination is more complex than that. There are a number of complex factors at play when this is happening, much more than it should. Procrastination can be understood as a form of coping mechanism or a form of escapism. Now think of the last time you had entered a phase of procrastination. What were you thinking about? You will start to understand that your brain is taking you to a place where it wants to feel safe and happy. At a psychological level, there are various factors that can cause procrastination. For example, fear of failure. Sometimes expectations set upon us by others or by ourselves can be so high that we almost don't want to start a task subconsciously because we are worried that we might fail. It can also be because the task is so overwhelming, it is so big that we start to feel anxious and therefore avoidance becomes our coping strategy. Now there are other distractibility is another reason which is also important in understanding procrastination. Sometimes it is really more pleasurable to just go to some of these distractions like video games or texting on the phone. It is far more pleasurable than doing the task at hand. Now perfectionism is another other reason why people start to procrastinate. And again, it ties up with the expectation side of things, that sometimes the expectations are so high that the brain can't cope with it. Emotional variability is another reason why individuals experience procrastination. Now, while procrastination is not a mental illness in itself, it can be a symptom of different mental health conditions. For example, depression. In depression, people often lose motivation, they can't be bothered to do things, and therefore their brain uses procrastination as a coping mechanism and they cannot get started with tasks. Similarly, anxiety, where the fight or flight reaction, it induces avoidance because the brain just wants to run away. It's escapism. Individuals, they procrastinate. Now, some neurodiverse conditions like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder can also have procrastination as a symptom. On the other hand, when individuals, they procrastinate, having an underlying mental health condition can make the procrastination worse as well. At a biological level, a lot is going on in the brain. It is quite complex, and I'm going to try and simplify it for this video. Now, you know that different areas of the brain, they have different functions. For example, the prefrontal cortex, it is responsible for planning, for executing, and for getting that discipline into doing the task, whereas the limbic system is more tasked with emotions, moods, behaviors, and those kind of things. And now you can understand that sometimes when these two areas are not in sync with each other so that the task is completed, it means that procrastination starts to happen. At a chemical level, you all know that dopamine is the reward chemical. It is released when a task is completed. But sometimes the brain wants instant gratification. And therefore, what will it do? It will go to an activity that will give you that instant dopamine hit. For example, again, on the phone, the video games, texting, those kind of things give instant gratification, and therefore it is easy to get the dopamine hit by doing those things, as opposed to getting on the task at hand and completing it, because the gratification is delayed in that scenario. So you can see that there is a complex interaction between all these factors. It is a very complex condition, and at some level, because it affects all of us, people are very aware of it, and sometimes they just treat it as normal, that yes, this is a normal way of life. But when it becomes a problem, it is really important that we become self-aware of why it is happening and do something about it. So what can we do about it if it is starting to affect your life, if it is starting to affect your career because you are not focusing on tasks and therefore you're not getting your promotions, if it is affecting your relationships because you are not listening to your partner or not getting on with household tasks, if you're not performing well in exams, in university assignments because you're procrastinating so much, understanding why it is happening is very important. What is your brain trying to escape from? What is it worried about? Understanding your own procrastination patterns helps in managing it better. So self-awareness is really important. Now I'm going to give you top tips on how to manage procrastination if you're struggling with this condition. First, as I said to you, self-awareness of your own procrastination patterns is very important. Identify your task at hand. What is it that you're wanting to do that you're struggling to do? Number 2, break down this task into small chunks. Now for each small chunk, plan an action on how you're going to complete it with very clear deadlines. So if you have a long task, break it into small chunks. For each chunk, have a plan of how you're going to complete it with a very clear deadline. Now start with the first chunk and work in segments of 20 to 25 minutes with 5-minute breaks in between. After about 4 25-minute timings of working, take a longer gap. What you're doing here is you are actually imposing artificial deadlines for your brain, which means that the brain then springs into action and starts to complete that task. Write down your plan on a piece of paper and put it in front of you, and each time the small chunk is completed, tick it off. Number 3, remove all the distractions from in front of you, be it the phone, be it your video game, be it anything else that you feel might distract you. Number 4, after you have completed your full task, give yourself a reward. Make sure that you praise yourself, make sure that you tick it off on your structure chart that you have made, and only then move to the next task. Remember, self-compassion is really important, so you have to look after yourself along the way. When you're taking your breaks, make sure you're not thinking about the task. You're only taking a break from the task and doing other things at that time. Make sure you return to the task when you are taking a break so that you don't have longer breaks than you have planned. It's very easy to get into these spirals. So, if procrastination is a problem, here is your exercise for today. Take a deep breath and get going with your task. Follow the top tips that I have just given you. Start with the small chunk that I have told you to do first in 25-minute chunks, which is also called the Pomodoro technique. If you have enjoyed today's video, subscribe to my channel and watch it, share it, like it, share it, tell it to all the people you know. Thank you for watching.